triggering change, one heartbeat at a time. Battle for freedom. Welcome, everyone. I'm your host, Watson Prunier from Battle for Freedom on Mojo Fiverr Radio. Thank you so much for just supporting me, being behind me as I get through this another broadcast. It is the beginning of August. Holy moly guacamole 2025. And we're going to have some fun here. If you want to interact, you can go to facebook.com/Battle for Freedom, or you can go to rumble.com/Battle for Freedom. Leave a message there, and I'll do the best that I can to catch your response. Actually, if you have my cell phone number, you can actually even leave me a message there too. And then what I'll do is I will make certain that I can get your message in during this. Rumble.com/Battle for Freedom, Facebook.com/Battle for Freedom, or you can even go to YouTube. Look for Battle for Freedom there. If you're looking at the show notes, you can see exactly where the location is on YouTube, so you can leave a comment there. Be happy to continue to hear and share what you have to say. Let's see. We also have, let's do this before I forget. Let's do this.
It's fascinating. Have you seen it? LaserShopLive.com. It's the YouTube channel for Romika laser engraving and custom designs. We're excited to offer you a 24-hour live stream of our laser shop, along with various videos showcasing our laser work and completed projects. Our state-of-the-art equipment and skilled designers create intricate designs on a variety of materials. With our live stream, you can see firsthand how we create our one-of-a-kind products.
I stumbled upon LaserShopLive.com and was blown away by being able to actually watch them work on their projects. Their laser engraving live stream is fascinating to watch, and I lose all track of time.
Whether you're a business owner, creative professional, or just someone who appreciates unique and personalized items, LaserShopLive.com has something for everyone. And with our YouTube channel, LaserShopLive.com, you can watch our live stream and browse our videos anytime, anywhere. So why wait? Check out Laser Shop Live today and see what all the buzz is about. Visit LaserShopLive.com.
Yes, visit LaserShopLive.com right now. Let them know Watson from Battle for Freedom sent you. I believe that you will thoroughly enjoy it. And again, if you want to visit, if you want to comment, leave your comment there. I'll do my best to get back to you. I'm going to do one more.
Hello, I'm Dr. Leo with HorizontalHive.com, and I keep bees naturally. And everything starts by catching a local free swarm of honeybees. You put a small beehive like that on the tree in the springtime, and just as birds move into birdhouses, bees will move into a little hive like that. After that, you take the frames, put them in a bigger box, they expand, they collect honey from the flowers, and make good honey for you. And it can be as simple as that. No sugar feeding, no chemical treatments. I'm doing it for a living. And there are so many people who do the same thing. You can learn more in the book, Keeping Bees with a Smile. And it's exactly that, doing natural beekeeping and smiling at the same time.
Yes, natural beekeeping and smiling at the same time. Look at Horizontal Hive. Let them know that Watson, when you go visit them, let them know that Watson from Battle for Freedom sent you. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to continue something from last week, or just clean up something from last week. I had last week I was talking about fighting in Jezebel spirit. Shout out to Lisa. Thank you so much for joining, being part of the program. Shout out to Leprechaun. He is over there in the Rumble verse with John. Thank you so much for being part of it. And yeah, John Lep, thank you for joining. Lep, you can catch him this Sunday at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Very interesting topic he'll be going over, and it's basically the history of timekeeping. That's what he covers this Sunday, 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on rumble.com. Look for a program called Ain't You a Peach? The History of Timekeeping. Now, I would tell you procrastinators to join and see the program. The only problem is I know you have a problem with time management, and this is actually probably one of the best programs for you to probably watch is the history of timekeeping. No pun intended. No pun intended. Yeah, procrastination, you might not get that one. Might take you a little bit to get that. But check this out Sunday at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Let me do one more before we get into this.
Hey, my name's Trip, and I want to introduce you to Sun Oven. This is our all-American Sun Oven. We've been making these for the last 35 years. We're in 126 different countries all over the world. And basically, we call this a solar crock pot. And it's used to be able to just put your food in there and slow cook it with the power of the sun. You can never burn, scorch, or dry anything out inside the Sun Oven. Once you put it in, the sun reflects off of these reflectors in through the glass into the inner chamber, and it reaches temperatures of between 300 and 350 degrees. Really, the design is very simple. It's like the greenhouse effect. If you've got in your car during the summer and it's really, really hot, that's what's happening inside the Sun Oven. You know, anything you cook in your regular oven, you can cook inside the Sun Oven. You can use any of your existing pots and pans. If they'll fit in here, you can cook with them in here, just like you do in your regular oven. It's designed for you to be able to cook your meal out with the power of the sun. And literally, the longer you keep stuff in here, the more juicy and tender it is. So that's a quick introduction to the Sun Oven. Thank you.
Yes, quick introduction to the Sun Oven. Enjoy that, please. I'll let you know that it's something you need, something you want. So let's get into today. Today's topic is the whole idea of we're going to be revisiting. We're revisiting Jezebel, this Jezebel spirit, because I want to make sure I do this the right way. I don't want anyone to think that I was like a part of the Women Haters Club as I was breaking down the information that we covered last week. But we're going to do a couple different things here. And then I want to make certain that we're all on the same page as we read this. So here you have, check this out. This is 1 Kings 21, verse 25. Truly, there never was anyone like Ach'av, also known as Ahab, stirred up by his wife Izevel, which we know as Jezebel. He gave himself over to do what was evil from Adonai's perspective. So as we sit here talking about revisiting Jezebel, the trad con artist, the pillar of Churchianity, we're going to basically look at this, and I want us to understand the reason why Christians in America and around the world look so much like the world is because of the fact that we have allowed a Izevel or Jezebel spirit to control us. You know, the men, the women, everyone, the children. It's very interesting what we have allowed to happen in our lives, and then we wonder why everything is run amok. So this was interesting because you had Ahab and Jezebel. They were probably the most wicked kings in the history of the nation of Israel, and these are the 10 kingdoms that were separated from the two in the south, from Benjamin and Judah, Benjamin and Yehuda. So as we sit here and we look at this, I want us to revisit something too that I said from last week, just to make certain that there's no confusion. As we sit here and we look at this, because a lot of you are going to get angry with what I'm submitting to you because you believe that, well, maybe there's some kind of bias from me, and I don't want to hear anything, and basically, as you get angry at everything that I'm saying, ask yourself, is this a Churchianic response or is this a Messianic response? And we have to decide which one's which. Do we want to allow our emotions to get the best of us, or will we turn around and say, you know what? Yeah, there's some truth to what he was saying, and I admit I could probably change the disposition that I've had, and I won't allow my emotions to get the best of me any longer. That I know that I need to change. I know that I need to allow the Lord to help me grow and move on. So a couple things I want to do here is there was a very interesting video that I want to share with you because it just, again, yeah, let me see, make sure I get this one right. This one is, yeah, I saw this, this was crazy. Let me let you see this one. This is something that happened, and there's a couple questions I need to ask, or we need to ask in light of what took place. So I saw this video yesterday, and it really troubled me. It was CCTV video footage. There was an attempted abducting with this stranger where this little girl is walking by herself and her parents are nowhere to be found. And what's crazy about this is, you know, you're sitting there, this stranger, he decides to go in and try and take this child, and you have to ask yourself, where were the parents? I mean, this little girl is sitting there walking out there by herself, and you have to ask yourself, when we get to the point where we're so distracted that our kids can walk away like this, I think the father was there too, so you have to ask yourself, where were the parents? When we get so busy that the most critical people in our lives, the critical people in our care, are completely abandoned because of our negligence, we are moving too fast. We have to slow down. The Lord says, "Be still and know that I am God." And it's the Jezebel spirit that runs us, that makes us feel like we have to keep busy having everything available to us, and we'll slow down when the time counts. Hey, Larry, thanks for joining over there in the Rumble verse. I really appreciate you. But it's just really, like, again, as we sit there and we watch this, I mean, check this out, because you're like, this little girl, she's just sitting there walking by herself. And if you notice too, the assailant walks around, so he saw her there. Isn't he the one who comes back out from? Yeah, he saw her there, saw her walking towards him, walked behind the counter, and then noticed that no one was watching, and scoop, let's pick you up, little girl, make sure we get you to where you need to be. And the parents, where were you? See, when we take our eyes off of the prize of what the Lord has us to do, we end up endangering the lives of other individuals. Another one that I thought was very interesting, and this one is talking about a Jezebel spirit, but this was at a Christian camp. Terrified boy savagely beaten by 3 football player bullies Christians at Christian summer camp while the 4th filmed.
Tag him up. Tag him up. Make him feel them. Yeah, make him feel them. Nope. Don't even get up. Don't even get up. Yeah. Don't even get up. Now watch him next time. You know what not to say. Oh, he'll be alright. Hey, but what you want?
Hey, don't go posting that nowhere.
Don't go posting that nowhere. Don't put this online, the crime that we're doing at a Christian camp. And see, everybody keeps thinking, oh, well, it's fun. They get a chance to know about the Lord. No, you know what? Here's the problem. It's very convenient for us to have these things where we send these kids to, right? But the thing about it that annoys me is that we've gone into the habit of sending our kids away from home rather than keeping them home and keeping them safe. You remember Dinah, the daughter of Jacob, of Ach'av, who she got raped because of the fact that she left the protection of her home to go hang out with the women in the streets. She put herself in a position where she left her home to be out in the streets with the women of the streets because where the protection of her home was. If she was farming at home, if she was tending things at home, she never would have been out in the street and put herself in a position to be raped. Again, if you look at the passage, she went to be with the women in the streets, the local women. And we continue to put our children in these public schools, knowing that there's indoctrination going on with our kids. We continue to put our kids in these precarious situations. We send them to ministries that we know that there's questionable things going on. We drop them off at churches during VBS. This is the season for VBS. We leave for Vacation Bible School. Leave them there. I remember we had 1 week during VBS. We went to the end of the church. And our youngest daughter, we went back to the church, for children's church on that Sunday. And our youngest daughter was left in a classroom for the whole church service. Attendant came in, didn't look. My daughter was dropped off by another kid. Attendant came in and then turned the light off and then just left. My youngest daughter, like 5 years old at the time, was left alone in a classroom by herself for a full church service. We haven't been back. We haven't. When we get so, and again, we entrusted that the people who were there were going to take care of our child. Yeah, we haven't been back. And I'm sure it has happened. And what if it was a church? What if it was a church where you had pedophiles there? These kids are getting beaten up because we just send them to camp. Camp. It's the easiest thing. No, keep them home. You don't see anything in the Bible that talks about sending our kids off to camps. Train up a child is the responsibility of a parent. We love saying that, right? We love saying that verse, right? Train up a child in the way they should go so when they get old, they don't depart. There's nothing in that scripture passage that says it's the responsibility of the rabbi or the pastor or the deacon or the elder or any other individual we take. It's the Jezebel spirit that basically says, I want someone else raising my kids. Men and women, Jezebel spirit, someone else's responsibility. Jezebel spirit. Because for a man to abandon his post and teaching his children, that's a Jezebel spirit. For a man to abandon his children and protect his children, that's a Jezebel spirit. Because they're too busy off going to do whatever was right, but is evil in the sight of the Lord. Because the Lord tells us we are responsible, we're shepherds of the children, the blessings that we've been giving. And to abandon that post, it is unforgivable. Hello, Patricia, over in YouTube. Thank you for joining and being part of the program. As I sit here and we watch this, these kids are constantly being put in a position where they're being hurt, they're being violated. Here's another one. Well, yeah, this was the clown from. Yeah, let me show you the clown from earlier with respect to the abduction. Sorry, this is the clown from the abduction earlier, and this is the beating at that Christian camp. You know, where were the adults? At D.W. Daniel High School, where were the adults? Let's even move on to even something more crazy, insane. Where is the transparency? Here you have children at Christian summer camp were separated from their families for hours after poisoning. Police quizzing 76-year-old man. For hours, these children who were left in the care of this Christian camp, and they were separated. You see that stuff in public schools where they hide you. Your kids get violated. Your kids get sexually assaulted. Your kids get indoctrinated, and your kids are told to adopt transitioning ideologies, but they don't want you to know the lessons. They don't want you to know the things that are being taught in your class. And we continue to shame on us when we continue to put our kids in the care of evil, wicked people. Guess what? Those people are evil and wicked, but we must be responsible. We must be held accountable because there's more than enough information about how crazy this stuff is happening, and we keep sending our children off to the wolves. We keep sending our children off to the stinking Lord of the Fly scenario, where we pulled our kids out. This December will be 3 years that we've pulled our kids out of the public school scenario. Hell, public school hell. Because of the fact that it was clear it was no longer safe for our children there. It's clear that it was no longer spiritually safe, physically safe, physiologically safe. There was emotionally safe. There was no way they could be safe there. And when my youngest ended up with a black eye in the first grade from a kid who couldn't be controlled, and then when she tries to correct the kid's behavior because they kept causing trouble, and the teacher comes out and says that my daughter, my 5-year-old, is basically not being a good citizen. Please. No transparency. But hey, you want to keep sending your kids back to public school? You want to keep sending your kids off to these schools where they're being raped? Mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually? That's a Jezebel spirit that basically says, I'm going to keep sending them into the crap and expecting something different. It's a Jezebel rebellious spirit, and you deserve hell and everything that comes with it if you continue to put your kids in harm's way, knowing full well what's going on. Let's go. Let me breathe and go to some scripture passage. Proverbs chapter 7. My son, this is the idea of betting wisdom over women. For I was my son, keep my words, store up my commands with you, obey my commands and live. Guard my teaching like the pupil of your eye. Bind them on your fingers. Write them on the tablet of your heart. Say to wisdom, you are my sister. Call understanding your kinsman, so that you can keep from the unknown woman, from loose women with their seductive talk. You know, it's very interesting because in many ways, the beginning of this verse or chapter in Proverbs 7 reminds me a lot of the Hebrew Shema, about the way that we make certain that the teachings, Torah, is on our hearts, our minds. It's in our activity. It's in our sight. It's in our sound. It's in our touch. It's in every location that we go. We're surrounded by God's teaching, his law, his teaching. You know, the stuff that we say, the Jezebel spirit says that anything from Genesis to Malachi is old school. Thank you, Patricia. It's this whole idea that the Jezebel spirit that basically says, oh, you know what? We don't need the Old Testament. That's Old Covenant. That's wrath. There's grace in the New Testament. You know what? That's a Jezebel spirit that says that. That's a Jezebel spirit, because what we do is we open this hyper grace scenario that people can live and do whatever they want to. They can continue molesting children in church. We'll just hop them from church to church, to church to church. They can be a Jezebel spirit and not be committed to their family and turn around and be loose or whatever it is. But we're going to forgive them because, you know, the blood of Jesus wipes over the adulteress who can't change her ways. Yeah, we use language like that. We basically say we're going to forgive over and over and over and over because we're going to love like Christ loved the church, completely taking that passage out of context. This is the Jezebel spirit that continues to utter that word without having the boundaries that are established in Torah. And then we sit here and then wonder why the church doesn't look anything different than the world. Because we have a bunch of Churchianics rather than Messianics. Oh yeah, I'm hot. I'm hot because the Jezebel spirit is something that should not be dominating our families. Verse 6, for I was at a window of my house, glancing out through the lattice, when I saw among the young men there, among those who didn't think for themselves, a young fellow devoid of all sense. He crosses the street near her corner and continues on toward her house. Dusk turns into evening and finally night, dark and black. Then a woman approaches him, dressed as a prostitute, wily of heart. She's the coarse, impulsive type whose feet don't stay at home. Rather, she stalks the streets and squares, lurking at every street corner. You know, it's very interesting because the fact that we sit here and we're like, well, how did it even come to pass? How was it even possible that something like this could take place? Well, the reason why it happens is because of the fact that he's not at home, but there's a lot of reasons we have to ask ourselves, why is he at home? Is he not at home because he's not content? Is he in the streets because he's not content? Is he not in the street? Is he not at home because of the fact that things aren't just as perfect and great as he wants them to be at home? Is this the reason why he continues to put himself in this position where he's like, you know what? I need this because it ain't going to get any better. It ain't going to get any better. I want to play something for you. This was given to me, and I'm not going to lie to you. This thing here is insane. When you think about, I know a lot of you right now, you're angry. You're like, well, if the man ain't doing what he's supposed to be doing, and we need to hold them accountable for what they're doing, what they're not doing, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, we can only use that excuse for so long because of the fact that Ecclesiastes 12:14 basically says we will all be held accountable for the actions we do. So none of us can sit here and act like we didn't know. None of us can sit here and act like we weren't aware of what was required of us. We can't keep making excuses. We can't keep making excuses as to why we won't do what the Lord has told us to do. But I found this video. It was given to me, and I'm not gonna lie to you. It's short, but I'm gonna play it over and over and over again until we see the relevance of what this thing is. So because there's a spirit going on here. There's a spirit going on here that we need to consider. That we don't want to look at this, but I tell you, it's very, very interesting. Let's see if I can do this one here so you understand the lurking woman and unsuspecting dote. Check this one out, because this right here is gold.
I don't submit to no man. You don't tell me what to do. I'm my own woman. I'm independent. What does the word submission mean? It comes from two Latin words, sub, under, and mission. Submission means to come under the mission. Jezebel was dominant and she hated submission. You don't tell me not to bring the prophets of Baal into this land. I'm my own woman. I don't submit to no man. Her name, Jezebel, means unmarried. This is the Jezebel independent spirit. It's that they might have the title of wife, but they are fiercely independent. They're running businesses behind the scenes that their husbands don't even know about. They have bank accounts that their husbands don't even know about. But the godly woman, she's a helper to her husband, and she's on mission with her husband. It's not two people fighting against each other, building separate missions. A godly woman gets beside her husband and says, I will build the mission that God put in your life. I will come beside you. I will be a helper, and I will build the mission and the vision that God has entrusted you with. This is a godly, righteous woman.
And she says, I don't submit. That's the Jezebel spirit. That's the Jezebel spirit that says, I don't submit. And if whether it's a man, because let's go back to, I'm going to play that one over and over again, because a lot of you are going to get angry at me thinking I'm this like sexist mentality. No, I'm not trying to be sexist. Truly, there was never anyone like Ach'av. Stirred up by his wife, Izevel, he gave himself over to do what was evil from Adonai's perspective. Because no one has a better perspective on truth and reality than Adonai, the Lord Almighty, the creator of heaven and earth. The one we cry out to, basically saying, if my people humble themselves and pray. You got to humble yourself to whom? To your will or the will of the Lord? Because we turn around and we continue to allow ourselves to be seduced into rebellion against God, and then sit there and wonder why things don't work the way that they do or the way that they should. Lord, forgive us. So you sit there and you watch this idea where she's coarse, impulsive type whose feet doesn't stay at home. Rather, she stalks the street squares, lurking at every street corner. Lurking. Predators lurk. You remember the video of the guy who adopted the child? He was a predator, lurking. He saw her strolling with no one paying attention to her. And it was easy for the unsuspecting child. That's how we walk around. That's how we walk about thinking, oh, we're good. We're fine. There's nothing for us to worry about. And the Lord's saying, dummy, threat's there and you've been ignoring me. I've been trying to warn you all this time, but do you think you know better? Psalm 1, verse 1. How blessed are those who reject the advice of the wicked, don't stand on the way of sinners, or sit where the scoffers sit. I love this because it's basically saying that the person does not want to associate with wickedness in any way, from hearing, standing near, associating, nor being comfortable enough to rest in his presence. Verse 2 says, their delight is in Adonai's Torah. On his Torah they meditate day and night. In other words, they love the teachings of God, and this is what they think about day and night. They are like trees planted by the streams. They bear their fruit in season. Their leaves never wither. Everything they do succeeds. Verse 3 is basically hinting that there's life in them, and it's not murky, stagnant water that passes by them or fills them. It's flowing, life-giving, clean water. But verse 4 says, not so the wicked, who are like chaff driven by the wind. Chaff, it's a substitute, or it looks like, or an imitation of wheat that has no substance and has no value, and it's easily manipulated. For this reason, the wicked won't stand up to the judgment, nor will sinners at the gathering of the righteous. In other words, there is no hope for those who reject the teachings of Adonai, who reject his Torah. They will not be able to stand, even though they think that they're gods. The Lord of creation will humble them. Verse 6, for Adonai watches over the way of the righteous, but the way of the wicked is doomed. In other words, if our goal is to reject Adonai, his teachings, his Torah, his rule, his order, that means that we will suffer the consequences of living in no order and complete chaos, facing his wrath for eternity. Why? Because we rejected his truth. Triggering change, one heartbeat at a time. Battle for freedom. Welcome back. I'm your host, Watson, prename from Battle for Freedom on Mojo 5 Radio. Today, we're talking about revisiting Jezebel, the trad con artist, and this is the pillar of Churchianity. Lep had some funny stuff to say, and again, catch up this Sunday, 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Ain't You a Peach on rumble.com. And he's going to be talking about the history of timekeeping, watches, and everything like that. And again, you procrastinators, I hope you can make it and you won't be late for that. I think if you had a watch, you'll probably still miss that. But let's get back into this as we sit here talking about revisiting the pillar of Churchianity. Oh, yeah, Churchianity, yeah. So we were in Proverbs, looking at Proverbs chapter 7. I want to continue this for a second here. She grabs him. Here you go. She grabs him, gives him a kiss, and brazen face, she says to him, I had to offer peace sacrifices and fulfilled my vows today. This is why I came out to meet you, to look for you. Now I found you. I've spread quilts on my couch made of colored Egyptian linen. I've perfumed my bed with myrrh, aloes, and cinnamon. Come on, let's make love till morning. We'll enjoy making love. My husband isn't at home. He's gone on a long trip. He took a bag of money with him and won't be back till the moon is full. The Jezebel spirit basically says, yes, I have commitments, but I'm willing to violate those commitments, prior commitments, for my own pleasures. See, the Jezebel spirit cannot be satisfied. The Jezebel spirit wants more. The Jezebel spirit can have everything that they want, but it's still never enough. There's a funny video of these gentlemen sitting there, and they were listening to a comedian who was talking about Adam and Eve, and how Eve basically said, Adam said to Eve, you know, honey, we have all this. We can look at all the things that we have. And Eve says, but I want more. Is there more? And so as these guys are sitting there laughing at the comedian, there's this woman sitting in the group with them, and she basically says, I don't get it. She's like, I was expecting more from the joke. And her response of I was expecting more was straight up hilarious, because it's exactly what the comedian was saying, that she wanted more. Even though everything was plain to see and understand, she still wanted more, because of the fact that it's never good enough. So what do? We'll seduce. We'll use our wiles. We'll use our appeal. We'll use anything that we have to, because again, the seductress, the Jezebel spirit, the unknown woman, the predator, is constantly seeking validation of some sort, of some way. I want. What did the Lord say to Adam about what the condemnation that was on Eve in Genesis chapter 1. You will desire your husband. In other words, you'll want his authority, you'll want his power, and you'll do anything you can to achieve that status, to achieve that power. You'll do whatever you need because you're never satisfied. It's never enough. It doesn't matter how much I bless you, you still want more. And even if it means even wanting him, even wanting to threaten him, even wanting to replace him, basically saying that all the blessings I've given to you is never good enough, and you'll never be satisfied. It's like sin. Sin is never satisfied. It's never satisfied. Why do you? It's very interesting. Never mind. I'm just gonna let me continue to go with here. So she's willing to violate her oath with her husband for her own satisfaction. That's a Jezebel spirit. And that's what's running churches. You don't think so? Because it's these unsatisfied wives who are willfully sleeping with married women, willfully sleeping with pastors. It's unsatisfied single women sleeping with the pastors. Even if the pastor's having his needs met by his wife, they still have these women who are in the church who are willing to sleep knowing he's full well he's married. Don't tell me. It's like, and think about this. It's not like she was wearing a trash bag to cover her looks, to cover her cleavage, to cover her legs, to cover her figure. She came into church dressing like a 304. Hoe, for those who didn't know. A 304 is another way of saying a hoe. She came into church dressing like a hoe, grabbed the attention of the pastor in a seductive way. I'm just showing off my figure. I'm just using my Christian liberties to dress whatever way I want to in church. I can dress like a prostitute while I'm here. It's no problem if you see my cleavage. No problem if you see my nipples coming through my bra or my shirt. Yeah, I'm cool with being a temptress in church. I'm cool with other people looking at my figure, wearing revealing clothing, see-through clothing, whatever it is. I'm happy with people getting the attention. I look cute. I look fancy. I'm cool with dressing like that. Because looking cute and being validated by other people is what matters more than honoring God and honoring the husband that I've asked for. Jezebel spirit. And doesn't want to change. Understand this. Let me help you understand something. Only the Lord changes the Jezebel spirit. Only the Lord changes the Jezebel spirit. But if we willfully believe that we can change somebody because we believe that our Christianity is good enough and we got enough grounding in God that we can help people draw closer to the Lord, the Word of God says, do not, 2 Corinthians 6:14, do not be unequally yoked. But we walk into these situations knowing full well there's no submission to God. We know full well this is who we're dealing with.
I don't submit to no man. You don't tell me what to do. I'm my own woman. I'm independent. What does the word submission mean? It comes from two Latin words, sub, under, and mission. Submission means to come under the mission. Jezebel was dominant and she hated submission. You don't tell me not to bring the prophets of Baal into this land. I'm my own woman. I don't submit to no man. Her name, Jezebel, means unmarried. This is the Jezebel independent spirit. It's that they might have the title of wife, but they are fiercely independent. They're running businesses behind the scenes that their husbands don't even know about. They have bank accounts that their husbands don't even know about. But the godly woman, she's a helper to her husband, and she's on mission with her husband. It's not two people fighting against each other, building separate missions. A godly woman gets beside her husband and says, I will build the mission that God put in your life. I will come beside you. I will be a helper, and I will build the mission and the vision that God has entrusted you with. This is a godly, righteous woman.
Yes. A godly, righteous woman who knows how to submit. But if you have anger and resentment towards your husband, you'll do whatever you want to. Because this is what happens with the seductress entering the Venus flytrap. With all her sweet talk, she convinces him, enticing him with her seductive words. at one. So in other words, she is literally having a conversation with him. She's married and feels comfortable talking to another man and says this nice sweet things to get his attention, to pique his interest so that he can continue talking to her. Opening doorways, opening hidden doorways of emotion and spiritual and emotional connection, creating that emotional affair that turns into a physical affair. And then turns around and says, I don't know how it happened. You knew exactly what was happening. Because of your ego, you need to be validated by constant validation over and over and over again that you put yourself in compromising positions, and then have the nerve to believe you should have a second chance with the relationship that you forfeited. Why? Because you'll never be satisfied. If you do it now, you'll do it again. You'll always be seeking external validation because what you've been blessed with will never be good enough. You're only following the pattern of your mother Eve. You're only following that pattern of never being satisfied. And this is the language that goes into these churches that governs the nature of how church functions, and then turns around and puts this ridiculous laws on men. Husbands, love your wife like Christ loved the church. She'll never be satisfied. So how can I sit there and sacrifice for a woman who will never be satisfied? Oh, you got to be like Hosea and Gomer. That is not the biblical standard. Stop using that. Only Ahabs, not Christians, not followers of Yahweh, not followers of Adonai. You don't know the Lord if you continue uttering that men should submit themselves to unrepentant, unwilling, unrepentant women. Because Torah says when they get that rebellious, put them out, put them away, give them a bill of divorce. They don't want what they have at home. They don't want that. They don't want the husband. They don't want the children. They don't want the blessing. They don't want any of that. Let them flee. Let them fly. Let them be free to take the world by storm. Let them be woman and hear herself roar. But don't sit there and subject the man to humility and a dead spirit dying inside and outside because of the fact that no matter what they do will never be good enough. It's time to put away the Jezebel spirit. Put the Jezebel spirit out, but don't sit there and tolerate this stuff and then basically cloak it in the guise of Christianity, saying this is Christ, the husband loving the wife like Christ loved the church. That's completely unbiblical. It is completely devilish to continue to utter that stuff. You are an Ahab. You are a Jezebel when you sit there as a pastor telling men, this is godly. This is agape love, self-sacrificial love. Shut up. Don't know what you read the Bible. Start in Genesis. Because you don't know what you're talking about. You're only contributing to the degradation of the family. You're only contributing to and Satan is winning by you thinking that you've got all this theology and biblical knowledge that you can actually impart wisdom. You don't know crap. All you are is a tool of the devil. With her sweet talk, she convinces him, enticing him with her seductive words. At once he follows her like an ox on its way to slaughter, like a fool to be punished in the stocks, or like a bird rushing into a trap, not knowing its life is at stake till an arrow pierces its liver. So now, children, listen to me. Pay attention to what I'm saying. Don't let your heart turn to her ways. Don't stray onto her paths. For many are those she has struck down dead, numerous those she has killed. Her house is the way to Sheol. It leads down to the halls of death. See, we don't want to sit there and hear this, but this is the Jezebel spirit. That, think about this. You ever heard of the term Black Widow? The woman who keeps finding all these rich men, and they get that Black Widow sting, and she walks off with another lump sum of money. Isn't it interesting that, why is it that we never hear, if it's in here, please point out to me the man whores in the Bible. Show me in the Bible about the seductive men It's interesting that there's only two seductive people that are seductive caricature types in the Word of God: Satan and the woman. Now, if there's one about the men, please correct me, show me. I will make sure that you're acknowledged in the next broadcast. I want to show something to you. This was sent to me by a friend who's out there in the world trying to find a decent Christian woman. Let's have some fun with this one here. This is the final outcome. I got to make this one full screen, because this one right here, this one takes the cake on stuff I can't believe we've come to this moment where this person can't even see what they're doing. I'm gonna make this full screen so you can see exactly what we're covering here, because this right here is golden. Okay. So I have a friend who posts trying something different, looking for a booster-free wife and or a long-term surrogate to have children with in a homestead ranching home up north Midwest. Bonus if you speak another language. So this person responds and basically says, yes, her profile, a forever relationship. Only want a man who is serious about their faith. Christian man, a man who is close with his family and wants kids. I'm allergic to most dogs. I know it's a deal breaker. So basically he sits there and he's, so she basically says, hey, morning, have you, and I covered her her profile picture with just a standard generic woman image. And then I put him as a Viking, because that's what most women, when you hear his position, think he's a Viking or he's some kind of Neanderthal or something like that. But check this out. Morning. Hopefully you read my profile. I did. I'm not loving the surrogate thing, and I'm for normal vaccines, but not unnecessary ones. He says it's an and or LOL, opening my options because ideal doesn't seem to exist currently. Oh yeah, not many women want to just be considered that. I'd love to be a stay-at-home mom, but the way it reads on your profile, I thrive and I'm happiest around my family and friends. And just a heads up, I need my people. Do you have any property already in the middle of nowhere? He says, like, understandable, LOL. He says, as in you need to be near your family? She says, yeah, as in your profile seems you're semi-controlling and I see my family as I please. Gotcha. Wish you the best. Thank you. Now, mind you, she says she wants a Christian man. Okay? She wants a Christian man. That means that her standard is Christian, is supposedly Christ, right? Because the Jezebel spirit doesn't want to submit to the man. The Jezebel spirit wants to continue doing what they want to do. They don't want to be challenged. And the reason why I sit there and I look at this, I'm like, okay, so this is what you're saying. Fly trap, but not that passage. The Jezebel spirit, this is being Genesis 2:24. This is why a man is to leave his father and mother and stick with his wife, and they are to be one flesh. The boundaries of marriage. See, because again, show me in the scriptures where the wife runs back to the family. You want to know the ones that does happen like that? Michal, David's first wife. She had more allegiance to her father, her family, than her husband. She had openly disrespected her husband without regret, without remorse. God put her away. God provided another wife for David. Interesting. There was no condemnation about David having another wife because of the fact that his first wife was being disrespectful and out of order. In the beginning, Abigail, because her husband was acting like an Ahab, doing whatever he thought was pleasing in his own sight. But this whole idea of leave and cleave, it's biblical. When Yitzhak was given Rivka, Laban was her dad or her brother. They tried to hold on to her, but after she was paid for, the bride was brought to his master's son. She didn't go back to her family. She stayed with her husband. There was no traveling back to my family because I need to be around my people. Her people was her husband. And when we have the mentality that our world doesn't change regardless of our marital status, we should never be married in the first place. If you can't understand that the idea of taking on your husband's name, taking on your husband's identity, being part of that family because he's assuming the responsibility of taking care of you, but you want to continue to do what you ever want to do, you're not ready for marriage. Don't do that to that man. Don't do that to yourself. Don't have kids. Just go live whatever life you want to live. Travel the world. I remember this one evil, wicked Christian woman, part of a banquet ministry that we served in. This woman was married to a doctor. She was married to a famous musician in the past. She's driving $50,000, $60,000 SUVs, high-class SUVs. Sees my wife and pulls her to dinner to basically say to her, you know what? I don't see you with this guy. I see you traveling the world. Don't settle down. And who knows what this loser is going to be doing? He's divorced. He's got kids. Who knows what kind of... So this is a married woman telling my wife not to consider stay in a relationship with me. Go peruse the world. So the fact, it's a known fact that they say when women keep women single. Women keep women single. Because they're discontent and they want everyone else to be discontent. So we sit there and we watch this Jezebel spirit that goes out of its way to keep people single. We have to ask ourselves, why? Because there's no correction in the church. Because there's no correction by the leadership. And I'll tell you that the church is all the church is a surrogate. It's a surrogate whorehouse. Because all that she basically gets, she gets all her affirmation for the pulpit to live a harlot's way. That she does not have to worry about yielding to the word of God because of the fact that, guess what? My pastor said I can do this. How many times you hear these women say, my pastor said this, my pastor said this, my pastor said this, my pastor said this. And they don't want to change their lives. They don't say, my husband says this is what we do. I don't like this. I don't understand what's happening here, but I'm going to trust him. If God has blessed him to make it this far, that God has blessed him and given him the wisdom to make it this far, I may not understand everything that's taking place, but you know what I'm going to do is I'm going to submit. I'm going to yield. But no. That's not the spirit. That's not the spirit we see in church.
I don't submit to no man. You don't tell me what to do. I'm my own woman. I'm independent. What does the word submission mean? It comes from two Latin words, sub, under, and mission. Submission means to come under the mission. Jezebel was dominant and she hated submission. You don't tell me not to bring the prophets of Baal into this land. I'm my own woman. I don't submit to no man. Her name, Jezebel, means unmarried. This is the Jezebel independent spirit. It's that they might have the title of wife, but they are fiercely independent. They're running businesses behind the scenes that their husbands don't even know about. They have bank accounts that their husbands don't even know about. But the godly woman, she's a helper to her husband, and she's on mission with her husband. It's not two people fighting against each other, building separate missions. A godly woman gets beside her husband and says, I will build the mission that God put in your life. I will come beside you. I will be a helper, and I will build the mission and the vision that God has entrusted you with. This is a godly, righteous woman.
Yes. The godly, righteous woman who wants to submit, who's appreciative of what she's been given. I shared something last week, and I'm going to reiterate it today. Ultimatums are an illusion because the decision has already been made. There's a phrase, I love this phrase. It basically says, a person convinced against their will is a person unconvinced still. A person convinced against their will is a person unconvinced still. In other words, if you had to force my hand to do this and listen and follow you, I don't want to yield to this. If you had to force me to follow you, I don't want anything to do with this. because I want my own way. I want it my way. Tell me why I can't get it my own way. I was going to play the video. I was going to revisit the video with Pearl and Candace Owens. You know, do I have enough time to actually do this one here? Yeah, let's try and do a little bit of this and just go from there. Let's see what Pearl is capturing here.
In her frame, right? He's moving to her. She doesn't die back. In fact, she had from 16 to 30. She had freedom to date whoever. She hasn't been doing the trad thing for that long, or the trad, right? And she's given up nothing. And women give up nothing to be in relationships. Nothing. She's given up nothing. She didn't move to her husband. Her husband moved to her. She didn't have to work for the commitment, right? And that's how you can tell the guy is in her frame, right? He's moving to her. She doesn't die back. In fact, it's actually crazy. When she got a family, she goes further into political stuff. It's like she said, now that I have kids, let me get more death threats. More death threats at my husband and children's expense.
You gotta tell me, I know. I want to go for drives. Like that would be something. I mean, if you are, do you attend the mass?
So, do you know what? Oh my God, I can't with these women. I can't do it. Now she's signaling, well, I attend mass, therefore I'm holier than you.
That's the trad con artist, Jezebel spirit, gets a little of experience, gets a little credit, whether spiritual credit, physical credit, financial credit, emotional credit, and now takes a position of authority and superiority. This is a working mom, Jezebel spirit, telling a single guy who just wants to focus on his own personal development, you need to stop what you're doing and submit to my understanding of what life and happiness should be.
Even though I've been conservative for 5 minutes, I've been Catholic for 5 minutes, and now I'm going to beat the Bible over your head.
This is what happens even in church. Praise the Lord for the women who have chosen to sacrifice themselves in church to help our kids in children's church, children's Bible study, the nursery, the different areas by which you've served. Thank you. But I also we need to apologize to you because you never should have been put in that position in the first place. See, we use church like we use the world. We let other people take care of our kids because we need a break. We like the idea when they're babies. We like the tax benefits from them that we can claim on our taxes and everything like that. We love the social status of having children and the cute things, the pictures and all that stuff that we can post and everything like that. But then there comes a point where we get tired of it. Because now there's the real work that comes in outside of the Facebook posts, outside of the videos, outside of the cute doily outfits and everything like that. It's actually cleaning the diapers. It's actually feeding the kids. It's actually making sure that when they're sick, we can take care of them. When they're struggling, that we make certain that we make the sacrifices. It's the hard work, kind of like the hard work that comes with marriage. We want the glory. We want the glitzy marriage. We want the amazing gown. We want the amazing reception. We want our friends and family to inundate us with gifts and everything like that. When it's time for the real work that comes in the marriage, nah, we don't have time for that. Because we're too busy getting more and more information and telling people what to do and how to live. And we're not even living the way that we proclaim. Pearl said it best. And other people have said it best, that the craziest thing about traditional women or trad con artists is that they don't live the lifestyle that they're promoting. You can't sit there and promote healthy spiritual living when you're not living it. You can't be an advocate for it if you can't live it. Because when you do that, you know what you just show?
I don't submit to no man. You don't tell me what to do. I'm my own woman. I'm independent. What does the word submission mean? It comes from two Latin words, sub, under, and mission. Submission means to come under the mission. Jezebel was dominant and she hated submission. You don't tell me not to bring the prophets of Baal into this land. I'm my own woman. I don't submit to no man. Her name, Jezebel, means unmarried. This is the Jezebel independent spirit. It's that they might have the title of wife, but they are fiercely independent. They're running businesses behind the scenes that their husbands don't even know about. They have bank accounts that their husbands don't even know about. But the godly woman, she's a helper to her husband, and she's on mission with her husband. It's not two people fighting against each other, building separate missions. A godly woman gets beside her husband and says, I will build the mission that God put in your life. I will come beside you. I will be a helper, and I will build the mission and the vision that God has entrusted you with. This is a godly, righteous woman.